Today we're going to be testing the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette against the Sydney Grace In Mel's Memory, which is the Sydney Grace singles that Mel Thompson had pulled together to... She created this palette before Natasha created this palette. So it was made in a way that we think that this is what this palette should look like back in the day when we only had the retro palette. And we were like, that doesn't match. So my thought process is that we're going to test them out. We're going to see how close these two palettes are. And I think I can see quite a few shades that are similar in both palettes. I think I kind of want to swing pinky because I've done a couple of green looks with this palette. I'm really disappointed, but maybe that is the way I should go because I'm disappointed. Whatever. I think I'm going to swing peachy. Pinky peachy. So I'm going to do one eye with Sydney Grace and one eye with Natasha Denona, and I'll let you go. I'll let you know as we go. I think I'm going to do this eye with Natasha and this eye with Sydney. And my face is super red today, so forgive my face. Forgive my face. Forgive my face. Okay, so we're going to start. This side is Natasha. I do have a plethora of brushes here so that I'm not using the same brush over the two eyes. I think I'm going to go into this center shade here. On the Sydney Grace side, we have this one, which is the same. This is Sydney Grace Fairy Tale. I just spread them out a little bit so that I can move the shadows around, but still have them in the same place. Okay, so this eye is going to be Natasha Denona. I'm not going to talk a lot throughout this, but I do want to give you guys like my thoughts and opinions on how similar these are to one another and whether you could just get away with the Sydney Grace shadows. That's actually really pretty. This is Natasha Denona. Again, this is in the Retro Glam palette, and this one is in the shade Holly. Okay, so then we're going to go in and we're going to do the Fairy Tale shade by Sydney Grace on the other eye. I think this brush isn't exactly what I wanted it to be, but that's okay. I do have somewhere to go this evening, so this will be fun. I think the coloring is just a smidge bit different. Like this one from Sydney Grace is a little bit more peachy. I guess we'll see at the end of this if it looks any different. The Natasha one didn't really kick up a whole lot. Sydney Grace one, quite a bit of fallout in that. But that's okay. It doesn't bother me at all. I do think that the Sydney Grace side is leaning a little bit more peachy than I would have loved for it to be. For the Natasha side, I'm going to go in with a different brush because I feel like this one is too fluffy to get what I want to from this color. But I am going to go into this pinky color here. And this one is called Belle. And I think in terms of similar color, but maybe just slightly more peachy, we have this one from Sydney Grace. I don't really have a deep pink in the Sydney Grace like I do in the Natasha. I think it looks like that is different than the pink that I put on previously. I mean, there's not a whole lot of tone differences, so I'm just curious. For the Sydney Grace side, I am going to start from the top row. I think I'm going to start with this one. It's a little bit more pink, I feel like, than this one, but not super pink. That's the one thing I would say that's different between the two palettes, is that the Natasha one is definitely like pinker than the pinks in this one. And I know that she wasn't duping Natasha Denona's because Natasha's was out well after Mel's was, but I can see that this eye look is going to turn out far more peachy And truth be told, when we think about like what the mini retro was, which was supposed to be the mini to this retro glam palette, this eye over here really suits that because it was kind of like sagey peachy. And again, this isn't supposed to be a dupe at all. Those two shadows, there's not a whole lot of differentiation in tone. On this eye, you can definitely see the one shade over the other. I don't know if you can see that on this eye. The other thing about the Natasha palette is that it doesn't really have any deep mattes. Everything that's deep in there is either a creamed powder or a shimmer. For the Sydney Grace eye, I really do want to use this brown, but there's no matte, like deep brown in here. But what we do have is something that resembles this. Now this is more of a like satin shade, and I do think that this one in here is also similar. This one is Sydney Grace. This one is Natasha. So I think I'm going to go in with those. So it is this shade here in the Natasha Denona palette. And I am going to like lay it in here and just kind of deepen up this shadow. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is a ton of fallout right here. I always hate doing these videos because I never really know what to talk about, and I'm not really a chatty get ready with me kind of person, but my next batch of kids, that sounds kind of funny, is going off to college and in the fall, and I'm stressing out about it. Like, it's come on this year a lot sooner than I think I anticipated it coming. And, you know, my other kids, like my daughter worked at Starbucks, so she started college, and at ASU she didn't really have to pay for college, so I didn't have to deal with all of that stuff, which is yay for me. And my oldest, he went through an apprenticeship, so he is a optometry tech. I don't really have to worry about college with them, but with him I do, and he and I are not necessarily the worst relationship, but also not necessarily the best communicators with each other. And therefore, I feel like I'm just kind of like in the dark on a lot of things that are going on for him for purposes of schooling. So I'm a little bit stressed. In addition to that, been pretty stressful at work. I don't really know why I feel stressed out at work right now, but I know it is pretty stressful at work. I think that looks pretty. It looks kind of on the purpley side, and I don't love that it's a satin. And you guys know me, I like more color, so I mean, it just might come down to the fact that I like neither one of these palettes, let's be honest. Ooh, see, I like that so much more. I can't remember what I was saying. So we have graduations in June. Work has been super stressful. We just got back from FLC not that long ago, but like I said, I don't really know why it feels more stressful than normal, but it does. And I feel the frustration from like my peers, and I feel the frustration from also my leader. That's never good, right? But also this part of this might end up not making it into the video because first rule of Fight Club. I'm just going back and forth with those shades. I really feel like obviously the tones are just a little bit off, but I also feel like this shade specifically in the Natasha Denona one, it's just not doing it for me, and I think that is kind of making me mad. It's not about the shade so much as it is the performance. Like, I think I just have to continue to build, I think, to get what I want to out of that shade, and that isn't fantastic. Especially when I look at like my Sydney Grace eye and feel like it looks so much better than my Natasha Denona eye, which is so sad. But this is where we're at right now, and I just really do feel like this eye looks so much better, and I don't know really what it is. Let me see if I can fix this a little bit.
2 hours later.
I don't know. I feel like this one looks dirty and this one looks pretty. Tell me what you guys are thinking. Tell me what you guys are thinking. Okay. So next, I really want to use this shade here, and I really do think that this one from Sydney Grace also truly goes well and is much like that one. So we have Flare in the Natasha Denona palette and Golden Rose in the Sydney Grace palette. For the Natasha one, I am going to just use my finger, and that is it. That will probably be how I also do it with the Sydney Grace one. I think that shade surprises me with how, like, kind of corally it is, like with a palette that is not at all coral. I do think I'm gonna go in with like a more, like, this is a really like dense flat brush, and I'm gonna try and place it in that way. See if I can get just a smidge bit more precision and payoff. I hate this eye. I hate this eye so much. Okay, let's go in and clean finger the Sydney Grace side. That one I think looks so much more pink. That one is so much more pink. Like, how does this even happen? This one looks coral. This one looks pink. These mattes are coral. These mattes are pink. Now I am going to go in with a dense flat brush and do the same thing there that I did with the Natasha one. Although I can firmly say I do not believe this one needed to be packed on. I feel like this one was perfectly fine as far as opacity and how it was applying to the eye. The one thing I can also say about this shade is that it doesn't have nearly the gleam that the Natasha shade does. It's not necessarily something I'm mad at, but I am going to due diligence spray it like I did the Natasha one, and we will see if that changes anything. I do think it changed wet versus dry. Do you guys see what I mean though? These mattes were very pink, and this shimmer is very coral. These mattes were very coral, and now this shimmer is very pink. I mean, bewildered and baffled. That's what I got for you. Yeah, but see this shade, this deep shade, it keeps disappearing. And that is really making me mad. This is a problem with some of her like cream to powder shades, which is what this is, I do believe. I hate that shade. I hate it. I hate it so much. Here's what we're gonna do. We can clearly see that this is nothing like each other. I've used 4 shades out of each palette. We're gonna wipe it off. That's what we're gonna do. And I think what we're gonna do instead is just create a cohesive eye look that utilizes both palettes together in tandem, because I think what I really wanted to showcase in this video is that truly how similar they are. And if nothing else, it's Natasha Denona duping Mel Thompson's because Mel came out with hers first. But at the same time, as you guys can see, there is really not a lot of similarities. I mean, this one is way more pink, whereas the Sydney Grace is way more like corally and like soft. The metallic like cream to powder in that one worked far better from the Sydney Grace side than it did the Natasha side, but they also were similar. Like, these are palettes that can work very well together. What you're not getting from the Natasha Denona palette is going to be in the Sydney Grace palette. And I think that that is the point that I was trying to get across after utilizing these for a few days, is that they're not the same. So They're not even, honestly, there's a tiny bit of overlap, but not really. And if you wanted to have both palettes in your collection, you absolutely could. And you wouldn't see like a big difference, honestly. I really haven't dabbled a whole lot with pinks. So I do think I am going to go back into this one. I didn't really love the light one, so I am going to go back into the deeper one, and we're just going to put that all over my lid. I am pulling the big sweeping brush though that I had before all over the place on both eyes. We're going to show you how these palettes work together versus separate. I do think that they're incredibly different. If you wanted both, they don't overlap very much. So there's that. Okay, so I'm gonna try and be super creative today, because if I'm honest with you, I feel not great about myself these days. I really want to get back into taking care of myself through a different lens, but work has been super stressful, as I stated earlier. Almost the entire time I've lived on this side of the mountains, it's been just crazy sauce for me. It should start to slow down a little bit. I also think that there's an opportunity of, well, it's just like, what kind of time are you making for yourself also, right? Which isn't a lot, because I have all these things that I want to do and all this stuff that I want to accomplish, and I can't do that if I am like working out. One of those things is like YouTube, right? But YouTube sets my soul on fire, so I can't not do YouTube. That would be probably the death of me. I really do want to go in with a green kind of at the inner corner, a light green. So I'm gonna bring in like a kind of a flat like blending brush. I do think I'm gonna go in with this green here from the Natasha Denona palette. So that would be 2 shadows that we're bringing in from Natasha, and I am gonna just place that in here, and we're gonna buff it out and get a little bit like creative here. I'm hoping anyway that things start calming down. But also, like, one of my favorite things to do is go for a walk, and that's been really hard here. You guys have heard me talk about it, but anybody who knows anything about Western Washington knows it rains all the effing time. So being able just to like get outside and go do something isn't necessarily happening because it's raining. It's raining all the damn time. I just wish it would stop raining. I would go for more walks, or go out on the water or something. Something. Okay, I do think I'm gonna pull in this really dark brown from Sydney Grace. This is in the shade Beyond, and it's just a matte brown. I do know that it is possible to go for a walk out in the rain. I do not want to. I do not want to be that miserable. But also, JD and I have been paying for our gym membership back where we were living now for a year. And I just realized that we were paying for that still. I mean, I think I knew somewhere deep down, but I need to cancel that. And there is a gym right down the street from our house. But up until this point, he has not said anything about wanting to go to the gym. And I don't like going by myself. I just really think that today is not the day. Either that, or it's just the color combinations. Who knows? Whatever. So we're going to cancel the memberships at the gym from where we used to live, right? Because we should have done that a long time ago anyways. And we're going to get a membership at this gym that's right down the street from our house. Now, he's like, it's right on my way to work. If I leave early enough in the morning, I can go to the gym on my way to work. And I'm like, okay, but I hate going to the gym by myself. So, and he's like, well, I could do both. And then the competitive person in me is like, well, if you do it twice a day, I need to do it twice a day. Which for me is I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? Like, there's more to it though, right? Taking care of yourself, self-care, is more than just weight. Like, I need to also think about like what I'm eating, how I'm treating myself. Listen, I don't talk very nicely to myself ever. My boss tells me I have an evil me inside of me. I can't remember what she calls me. One of my peers has an evil twin as well inside of ourselves, like talking to ourselves and really not being super kind to ourselves. I feel like I maybe have reasons to talk to myself that way. I mean, there is that, but my boss is so sweet about it. I hate this. I hate this so much. We're gonna give up. We're not doing this. I've been recording for 50 minutes and have done like nearly nothing, and I have somewhere to be tonight. I think honestly it's maybe this inner corner business that's driving me nuts. Nope, we're taking it off. I know you guys are like, what is going on? We're going to take it off because mistakes were made, and that's just how it is. And I don't think I finished any one statement with any of you, but I do think that this could be fun. I just spent 50 minutes doing absolutely nothing. So I am going to stop. We're going to stop recording and we're going to call this video good because I really don't, I don't know where to go from here. I love you guys so much. So I had to give you guys something because I feel really bad that this is the third eye look that I'm attempting in this one video. But this is me, my third attempt, trying to prove that I know what I'm doing and can use makeup. So I'm just using the Hindash canvas in, or color fluid in the shade Canvas, thinking real hard about what I'm going to do with this eye look. Listening to some true crime, got me some Annie Elise. This is a Sydney Gray shadow. This is the shade Turtle Bay, the dark green in that palette. Like, I have fun with the greens in these palettes. I even have fun with the browns and kind of the goldy tones in these palettes, but man, those pinks give me a really hard time. So we're just going in with that Turtle Bay shadow. We're putting it on the outer edges of the eye look on both sides. I'm just doing a regular old eye look because I've lost some of my creativity. Apparently I need to maybe pull out some crazy colors all over again so that I can get some of that creativity back for sure. Through editing and watching, the first 20 minutes of this video. Like, it is a hot mess. It is a train wreck of a video, but I hope that you guys enjoyed a little bit of entertainment of me not being able to pull my stuff together to create an eye look. It's like I'm a newbie. This is me going into that light green shade in the Natasha Denona palette to buff out this Turtle Bay shade from Sydney Grace. This eye look actually turned out really pretty, and I ended up recording a whole nother video after this, and then went and had fun with my family for dinner, and yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I did love this eye look that I ended up with, so that's good considering, the hot train wreck that happened in the first 20 minutes of this video. Man, though, my eyes from putting the makeup on, taking the makeup off, putting the makeup on, it wasn't great. They were pretty swollen and beat up and red. It looked like I had been punched for days. My one eye especially was really weepy. It was bad news. I will never do 3 eye looks in a matter of an hour ever again. So right now I'm just putting on some NYX glitter glue because I want the shimmer that I put on my lid space to have the best chance, and I am using a Sydney Grace shimmer. And through the eye looks previous to this, I realized that the Sydney Grace shimmer wasn't maybe as impactful as I'd like it to be. This is the shimmer. It is in the shade green mango. I really do think this shimmer probably would have been impactful without the NYX glitter glue, but I use NYX glitter glue with almost every shimmer I wear, to be honest, and just look at how beautiful this green shimmer is. It is so pretty. And it's like this seafoam green with this goldy flip to it. It's not like it's got glitters in it, but it's got a goldy shimmer. This is also a Sydney Grace shimmer, and it is in the shade Green Mist. It is a white with kind of a blue and green flip to it. It is definitely kind of a duochrome shade. I'm going to pop that right into the inner corner and kind of blend it out into that seafoamy shade, drag it along the bottom lower lash line as well. It's so pretty in the eye look, but also just overall it's such a beautiful shade. Just packing on some more of that initial green shimmer and then deepening up that outer V just to put that dark green back into the eye look, give it a little bit more dimension. This might be how I have to record Get Ready With Me's from now on, because I apparently can't talk and do makeup at the same time. This is that deep brown Sydney Grace shadow that I am putting into this look, just deepening up that outer corner. I actually quite love this brown shade quite a bit. I used it quite a bit, not only in today's video, but in every eye look that I had utilizing these two palettes, because there's just no better, deeper shade to go into every eye look. But it's a great thing that it's a universal brown, because it went with everything. Again, as part of every eye look, just going in and buffing all the things together, make it great. And I mean, look, this sure looks a whole heck of a lot better than any of the other two did, even at this point. So super happy with how this is turning out. We've come together mostly. Sorry, I had to step away and go do the eye look. You guys saw what a struggle it was. Here's what I do have to say about that. I think, number one, it was the color stories that I was trying to put together, right? But beyond that, I don't love this palette. I don't love this palette. Even the same color story from a different brand feels better. So I don't necessarily know that it is the formulations in this palette. I don't love this palette. I don't know why I'm trying to make excuses for it. Most of what is on my eye look today is the Sydney Grace shadows. With that said, for the Sydney Grace shadows, I did showcase them all to you guys as I was using them. I only used one out of the Natasha Denona palette, and it was this green here, which is called Fringe. I mean, it's a matte like seafoam green. It's really dang pretty, and I thought it was a lot lighter than the seafoam green that I had going for me in here. So I did use that one to blend stuff out. I also did my full face. We're going to do the under eyes and lips together. So for my full face, I did use my Mario Sculpt Stick as my contour or bronzer, my cream bronzer product, and then I topped it with the Hourglass Nude Bronze Light. This is one of their ambient lighting powders, bronzing powders. Stunning and beautiful, and really just gives kind of a really good glow. I do think it turns me it's slightly too warm for me, slightly too, I guess, orange for me is what I would say. And then I topped it with peachy blushes, which just made it worse. So I tried to deepen it up. But Like I put this blush on first, then I put this blush kind of like in the outer like portions of that blush, and then I took this light blush and kind of dabbled it on my cheeks. I really tried to take the pinky or the oranginess out of the blush itself, but it obviously didn't work, but that's okay. I think it'll all still come together. I did use the Luminizer, the Dr. Brandt Luminizer Primer as my primer. For foundation today, I am using a combination of the Dior Face and Body in 3N and the IT Cosmetics Nude Glow in neutral medium. I do think that this one is just a slight bit darker than this one, so mixing them together creates like a consistency that I love, but also a really nice finish that I really also love. I am using the Huda setting powder, the under eye setting, but the pink under eye setting powder under my eyes to like powder them. I do think it feels a little bit heavy, a little bit cakey. If I'm honest, I'm hoping that the color that I put underneath will help like take some of that away. I'm using the Solmon Sunlit Love Blusher in Rosette Love. This is in my deck of panning, and I just can't get myself to use it. But you know, here's the true tea. This looks beautiful over the top of those Lunar Beauty blushes, so I'm not mad at it. And then for a like a highlight overall, I've got like the lightest shade of this palette just kind of stamped on my forehead, like in my inner upper brow bone area, and then also just a little bit dabbling on the cheeks. All I use on my brows is the 24-hour brow setter by Benefit, pretty typically daily. My mom wants us to come over for dinner, so I guess we're doing that. So that is what I needed to get ready for dinner with. For dinner for nothing big. I didn't need to be all dolled up, but I also want to get another video recorded or two before we go. This is the Natasha Denona eyeliner Macro Tech Eye Crayon, and this one is in the shade Willow. This I got when I got my Yucca palette, and it has a little bit more blue to it than I am truly desiring for my under eye, but I think it will help bring out like some of the blue in that like duochrome in my inner corner, because I'm going to pack that on just a little bit more. I'm going to go over that with some shadow too. I like to set a foundation on my under eye for shadows to be blended out on, but I don't necessarily go ham with a lower lash line eyeliner. And I'm not using the one that's in my project pan. It literally doesn't do anything. It doesn't go on. I think that it just needs to go in the trash can, if I'm honest with you. I use it pretending like it's working and knowing that it's just truly not doing anything. I feel like this eye has quite a bit of under eye that is needing to catch up with the other eye. I think that this eye is just more like droopy, if I'm honest. Like old age has definitely gotten a hold of that eye. I think I'm actually gonna blend that out. I think I could do like this one, but I think it's almost too green. I kind of want to go into a brown. And I think just to bring Natasha Denona back in, I am gonna do this little taupey brown here. It is called Love. And I think between that brown and this like blue toned green, we're gonna get like a really kind of like army-esque green. I really thought that this pencil brush was gonna be a little bit more soft than it appears it is, but that's okay. Now I think I'm gonna take that minty shade back on the brush that I used and just kind of work it in so it all comes together. Okay, I'm going to take that same Natasha Denona like macro pencil and I'm going to tight line with that. I do think that I'm going to use a black liquid liner though on my upper lash line. I guess I could do, what about this aubergine one? Would that be an okay? I think that that would be an okay. I mean, it would look better than black. I like that. It takes me 400 years where it might not take somebody else. I also think my product's just a little bit too dry. All right, let's see if I can do that on that other eye, though. That is the question. I think it probably wasted more product than I used. But, I mean, they're not the same, but my eyes aren't the same, so there's that. This one's been open more than any of the other ones because I use it the most because I love the color, but I do think it's drying out. Which only makes me sad because there's so much of it. Yeah, I mean, I think I like that. So, we're going to call it good. So, I used both the aubergine and the lemon green one for eyeliner. I kind of dig it. I'm going to put Buxom Dolly Danger on. Okay. I am also going to put on Marc Jacobs Sugar. Yep. It's old. It doesn't smell. Tastes fine. There's that. I'm going to put on some mascara, and today we are going to be using Hourglass Unlocked on the bottom lashes and FanFest on the top. I love this for bottom lashes. It's a really great tubing mascara by Hourglass. And then FanFest is my favorite these days. It takes literally no effort. And look at those lashes. Holy cow, that's one coat. All right, guys. We made it through. Forget about my hair that's not done, but how do we feel about this eye look? I think that we came a long way to get here. We sure did. I mean, I'm glad it all worked out in the end. It's super pretty. Okay, so thoughts and opinions, you guys. I would love to hear from you down in the comments section. Do you have this Natasha Denona Retro Glam? I don't know. If I were to rank all of my Natasha Denona palettes right now, I honestly feel like this one would come in last. Yep, I do. What I do love about it, though, is that it is a Natasha Denona palette in my Natasha Denona palette collection, and there are some great shades in here, but I do have, you know, quite a bit more time with it because it is part of my palette roulette series, and I just think that I wish I'd loved it just a teeny tiny bit more. I wish it performed just a teeny tiny bit more, but the whole point of me coming to do a video with you guys today is to really showcase whether if you had purchased the Sydney Grace Mel's Memory palette way back in the day when Mel first came up with this. If you needed both, I do think that they're very different. I do think that there's a lot of similarities in shades, but the similarities in shades are different formulas from palette to palette. So I don't think that it would be a problem, honestly, to have both in your collection. So with that said, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry if I started a story time and then stopped a story time because I was so mad at my eye looks, but hopefully you were entertained, if nothing else. I hope that you and yours are doing well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best you can. I hope that you are all loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time. Bye, friends.